so I haven't really been anywhere or done anything in a while. It's just been a busy time with work and some other projects and life, but also anyone seeing this knows it took me like 9 months to squeeze out 4 videos about my trip to Japan, so maybe I'm just like this. But what I have done is watched a whole lot of YouTube, and in that, as per usual, I've watched a lot of Grainydays. I am a big fan. He's actually the reason I started shooting film like 3-4 years ago. I've been wanting to try a couple of things I've seen him do in his videos. So that's what this is going to be. A couple of test rolls of some ideas I saw in Grainydays videos. So on a day of surprisingly good weather here in Melbourne, I decided to take a day trip up to the Warburton redwood forests so I could try shooting some CineStill 800T during the day at 400 speed. I never know how much detail to go into on this sort of stuff, because I assume that most people who would find this are probably interested in film already, but in saying that, it is pretty relevant to what I'll be talking about, so I'll be brief. The number on the film you're using dictates its speed, or in other words, how sensitive it is to light. The higher the number, the more sensitive it is to light. And stops refers to doubling or halving the amount of light you're letting into your camera. So if a perfectly exposed scene was shot on 400 speed film, you'd need twice as much light, or 1 more stop, to shoot the exact same scene on 200 speed film. You'd do that by opening up the aperture, say from f8 down 1 stop to f5.6, or doubling the amount of light you're letting into the camera, say from 1/250th of a second to 1/125th. So shooting 800 speed film at 400 means you're technically overexposing that film 1 stop. But as a general rule, colour film handles overexposure better than it handles underexposure. Again, these are very general guidelines and I barely know what I'm talking about. Specific to CineStill film, they also removed the anti-halation layer from the back of the film, which gives it its signature red glowy look near bright points. Which are actually caused by the light going through the film, bouncing off the back of the camera, and then re-exposing on the back of the film again. And it's red because the bottom layer of your film is actually the red layer, I think. Which is why you can also shoot film backwards, which is called redscaling, but we'll get back to that. The light was a bit in and out due to the mixed cloud cover and it being a redwood forest with super high trees and lots of shade. But mixed in with the warm bursts of sunlight, I really like how a lot of these came out. I was using the Olympus OM4 with my 50mm 1.8 and then with a lot of step-up rings, a mist filter on the front, which really helped disperse some of the hot spots in a pleasing Mr. Burns coming through the trees sort of way. Does that make sense?
I bring you love.
It's bringing love! Don't let it get away!
Break its legs!
Yeah.
The T in 800T is for tungsten, meaning it is balanced for artificial light. And that, plus its speed, is why it's championed for night photography. In the videos that inspired this idea, he actually used a warming filter. And I don't have one of those. But I do have a warmth slider in Lightroom, and I took full advantage of it in these edits. Before I left, I closed down my aperture as much as possible to try and get the exposure times as long as possible so that I could get a photo of this human / big bird sized nest in the forest with hopefully no one else around thanks to the motion blur. This is as close as I got. It's fine. I'm sure I could paint out this purple smudge or just get AI to make the whole photo. Maybe that'd be better. And that was about it for the 800T. On the way out, I did pull over to take a photo of this hillside field. But again, without that really strong contrast and the hotspots burning through. Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's fine. That night, I did actually fire off a few night shots with what I had left on the roll, but they were really just pretty generic CineStill 800T at night shots that everyone has done better before, so I didn't really waste my time, but we'll come back to this. Actually, just quickly, I did try it again the next day. It was middle of the day, I went to lunch with some friends, and I think the harsh, direct overhead lighting, instead of giving me some cool bursts and some nice tones, just tended to wash everything out and leave everything, as you can imagine, pretty overexposed. So, not a fan of these ones. Great company, mediocre at best photos. No thanks.
How much do they slap on a scale of 1 to 10?
The next one I wanted to try was shooting Kentmere 400 pushed 3 stops to 3200. I had a group dinner one night, and knowing that it would be in the evening and indoors, I thought this would be a perfect time to try it, because if it worked, it would effectively give me a film speed of 3200. I was having a lot of fun at the dinner, so I did not take any video, but the photos did do surprisingly well. As another extremely oversimplified explanation, when you push film, you're effectively underexposing it, but then overdeveloping it to amplify that detail that was captured in the underexposure. Usually leading to heavier contrast, usually working better for black and white as opposed to color film, because with color film you can start to get color shifts when you start pushing it too far. A reminder that if you're going to do this, pushing film does not actually gain any more detail than what was there, it just amplifies what you did capture in the moment. Sunset worked better, as there was a little more light. As the sun went down, I had to open the aperture wider and wider so that I wouldn't have shutter speeds past like 1/30th of a second. But of the ones I did get in focus, they are surprisingly clear with a shocking amount of shadow detail. Once I finished up with the Kentmere, I put in a roll of T-Max 400 and pushed it the same 3 stops just to see what would happen. Again, it was later, and I'd probably had more wine by this stage. So at first I thought maybe the Kentmere had done way better than the T-Max. Overall, I'd say it was about 50-50. They both did quite well. But considering Kentmere is a budget film stock, if there is such a thing these days, I was not expecting amazing results and was super impressed with how it did. The last one I wanted to try was purely based on how Grainydays explained how he scanned his X-Pan negatives. Bit of a throwaway comment in one of his videos, but he explained that when he is scanning it, he actually takes 2 photos of it and then uses an auto stitch feature in Lightroom or Photoshop to merge the 2 scans. So one morning I met Jimmy down in Bells Beach here in Victoria. If you're a surfer, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. He went for a surf in absolutely dead flight conditions, unfortunately for him, but I got to take photos of arguably the coolest sunrise I've ever seen in my life. I don't have an X-Pan, and at those prices, I'm never getting an X-Pan. I love that camera, love the look, not a fucking chance. So I wondered, could I take 2 or more photos with enough overlap and the same settings, and then auto-stitch them together in Lightroom afterwards? Turns out, kinda, yeah. I got quite a few shots I really like here. Plus, I was really enjoying all of it. I took AirPods down to listen to music because I knew we'd be out there for like an hour and a half or something, but I didn't end up using them because, I don't know, there was something really calming and peaceful about taking photos of a beautiful sunrise over the ocean. Highly recommend. As for the fake panos, every time I look down, the waves just sort of messed with the auto stitch feature. I think they were just moving too quickly and chaotically to latch onto any sort of pattern. But the ones of the sky, these came together a lot nicer. You can kind of see what I was trying here. I had the camera set up on a tripod, tried to make sure I was relatively level. The first shot didn't work for some reason, I think just the way it was scanned, but the second 2 stitched together quite well. Again, there was some hit and miss, but overall I got a couple I'm quite happy with. After this, I just sort of hung out and kept taking photos of Jim and the horizon and the sunrise. It was great. Since then, I've actually been down a couple more times to sunrise on the coast with Jimmy. One point in particular, I went to Point Addis, and this is the one. It came together so well. This is kind of what I was hoping it would be. But what about the OM1? The last thing I tried out recently, which really have been mixed results. It wasn't a test of anything really experimental. It was just my first roll of Lomo redscale. At first I tried to shoot it at night to try and get as much contrast as possible. But I only got a few shots off, and even less I was happy with. Plus, the one that came out the best was of this sign that was pretty much already red. Like, this didn't need to be red scale. I probably could have used Portrait 800 and it would have looked exactly the same. Heading back to Bells Beach, while I was there, I thought, I wonder what it would look like if Jimmy was surfing on an ocean of blood. And turns out, pretty cool. reds were definitely all over the place. Some were quite bright red, but with tones of yellow through it. And then some were just saturated in hues of like purple and blue. But overall, I'm loving how a lot of these look. And that's about it. Now looking back on them, the CineStill 800T at 400 I liked only in very specific circumstances, I think. I think it needs to be low light. I think it needs to be blent really warm, either with a filter or in Lightroom in post. I might try it again, but it'll be in more specific scenarios, I think, than just any time. The Kentmere 400 push 3 stops, I've actually done 2 or 3 more times since I shot this. Really enjoying how it looks. Adding contrast and making it easier to shoot handheld at night. Sign me the f up. The fake panos, I still do every now and then. I don't know where I go from here with it though. It kind of needs something moving as slowly or as still as clouds. So I don't know what I'd do next really. But if something comes up and it can work, I'll definitely be doing it again. And then the redscale. I love the redscale. I can't wait to shoot the redscale. I really want to use it in a point and shoot, and then use it at night with the flash. I feel like that would look really cool. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. I don't know what's next for this. We'll see how we go. Okay.